Hey guys, welcome back to Tech Talks. I am your host, Jared, with zero qualifications to talk about, well, tech, but I love tech. And then there's my co-host, Michael. Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing good, but I also have zero qualifications because I pretty much just read stuff off of the internet, which I think 90% of people do that anyway. So I think we're in the clear, Jared. We should be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, guys, we're just two tech lovers talking about tech each and every week. So thanks for joining us. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing good. I heard you had a very busy week. So we actually skipped the last episode last week. So that's kind of a bummer, but I mean,
Yeah,
here we are. We're back.
we are off to a great start on our new channel. Super consistent.
Super consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, just welcome, guys. Anyway, we're going to jump right into it because typically January is a very, very slow month when it comes to tech, right? We just came out of the holidays where there's tons of tech released. Usually January is, well, it's pretty sleepy, but we still have new tech to talk about. And the first up is the Tesla refresh of the Model S, right? This Model S? Model S.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Model S, correct.
I dig it. I dig it. I love that they got rid of the chrome. Chrome is just so dated. You see all that black trim they have there? I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of the things that I admire about this particular car is the way they designed it, because when it first came out, I didn't like it. I'm like, this is just not, it doesn't look like, I remember even saying, if you're paying $100-something thousand for a car, it better look like a supercar, right? That's how I felt, but it looks so ordinary. But the trick is, like, because it's so restrained in its design, it tends to be more, I'd say, timeless when it comes to actually the overall look. So now with all the busy design cars out there, this actually stands out as like a really, really nice looking car. So I also dig this design, and especially that new trim. Talk
Yeah.
about that trim, Jared.
Yeah. Well, what I love is I believe it comes standard with that like moon roof now too, like the long glass roof, which is just,
Yeah.
I love that. But
Yeah.
so they have the refresh, so you get the new trim, that new black trim, but they also have the plaid and the plaid plus, I think it is, right? We're gonna dive into that, but the new interior for the plaid, if I can find it, is absolutely amazing. This looks great. It's not busy. They changed the landscape of the screen, so it's not like portrait mode essentially.
Yeah,
it's landscape. Yeah, it's great, which makes sense. I mean, that's how you view content. So, man,
Exactly.
it looks so sharp.
So when did the first Model S come out? It was a while back. So I think maybe that's why they went with the vertical screen, because it was like, people were moving into like consuming content using their phones. That's probably why. I really don't know what the thought process was for why
Yeah, so
they did that in the
the
first place.
first Model S came out in, let's see here, launched in 2012. So it's been around. It's been around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
this
I like
new
that
option.
interior.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the interior a little bit more before we talk about how fast this car is. So
Yeah.
that interior is absolutely beautiful. So on top of the awesome screen, right underneath it, you got dual wireless phone charger, so you can just lay your phone there and have it charged, which is awesome. And then let's talk about the steering wheel. Now, I'm pretty sure this isn't legal in the States, that like it can't ship like that. Maybe it's like an aftermarket thing that you can add on to, but I kind of dig it. Like, I'm down for it. I feel like I would have more control, but then you do kind of have to, like, that's weird when you're doing your turn, you got nothing else to hold on to. I mean, what do you think, Michael?
That's what's interesting, because that steering wheel actually reminds me of an F1 steering wheel. So it feels like a race car. So like the F1 steering wheels are not even round; they're just like joysticks almost. So it looks like that. So I'm not even sure how, like you said, how legal if it's legal, because the U.S. has very weird automotive like requirements for stuff. Like there's a reason why our bumpers in the front have to have like those extended whatever, depending on the car, and a certain amount of light to have for your signals. Like it has to light up for a certain amount of time, like really weird stuff. So for that to be approved, like you said, I'd be surprised because there's so many rules. But it does look interesting. That is a good point, though. You did bring that up. Like, how's the turning circle of a Model S? I've never driven one, so I can't imagine like shuffling. You know what I mean? Like doing the shuffle when you're turning. But maybe it has a really good turning radius. You don't have to probably do that. I mean, everything's automated, kind of. So not everything, but it does also remind me of those futuristic self-driving cars for sure. I like it. I like the interior because a friend of mine, he has a Tesla, and his biggest complaint with his interior is that it's nice. It's very simple, not necessarily functional because it's minimalist, right? But the problem is, he said he feels like he's sitting in a kitchen, right? Like everything works,
it's too
but
sterile,
it's not inspiring.
right?
It's too sterile. So the fact that they added that little bit of warm color is an added, like, to me, finally it's appealing, because I never really liked Tesla interiors before. I thought they were different. I sat in one before and I said, oh yeah, this is actually different. It adds to that I forgot what the term is, but you feel like you're in a big space because it's so minimal. But I think they got the trim right. I really like it.
They really did. Again, though, it just comes down to that steering wheel. I just have questions on how functional that is for, especially people that have, what is it called? ADA, like compliant, you know, like people that are handicapped and maybe they have to drive with one of those knobs to turn, you know, because maybe they only got one arm. And if they want a Tesla, how are they going to turn, you know? So we'll see.
Tesla just excluded that demographic right there.
So we'll see if it ships like that. But let's talk about the specs. This thing is insanely fast. So it can go 0 to 60 in sub 2 seconds.
Easy.
That's insane.
That's
right?
crazy.
That's
crazy that we live in a day where we have cars that we can buy, like anyone can buy. It used to be supercars, it used to be hypercars, but a regular car that you can buy that goes that fast. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Did you catch the mileage that you can get on this? On the
520?
Plus.
Was it
520? Now we're talking. That's what a electric car needs to be able to do. It needs to get somewhere between 400 and 500 plus miles in a charge for it to be a realistic option for everyone moving forward, right? Like
exactly.
This whole 300 miles, I mean, you can't even get to LA and back, right? 300 miles. I mean, if there's traffic, you're not getting back.
Yeah. I mean, you got to just drive straight to your destination and kind of plan it out as well. Yeah. And charge. And what? You have to wait there a couple hours? Like, who has that time now?
I mean, they got those fast chargers, but still.
But still, yeah. I mean, I thought, pumping gas, like regular gas, is very inconvenient. Like, to me, honestly, I'm just lazy like that. Like, I wish someone would. You're right. I think this might be interesting to you, Jared. Like, there was a company, a startup a few years ago who wanted to deliver gas to where you live or even your workplace. Basically, you just, it's almost like Uber, so that you just use your app and then they basically drive over to you and they just put gas in your car, which I thought was really cool. I know they started it in LA.
That is lazy on a whole nother level, Michael.
That is for me.
Taking it to the next level.
For me. I hate getting gas. I hate it. But yeah, thinking of like having to stop and charge, that just adds so much more to your day. Unless you make an event out of it, like maybe where the charging stations are, there's really nice cafes, a movie theater. I don't know how it is. I don't have an electric car. But yeah, having that range, 520, that does huge. Take away the range anxiety, right? Yeah. Like we all have that.
So. But I mean, I also get the flip side. Like, how many of us are driving 300 plus miles in a day? Not too many, but there are the rare occasions. And ideally, as long as you have enough range to get you through the entire day, no matter what you're going to do, you can always charge at home, right? And charge overnight. Yeah. So that kind of solves that issue. But yeah, they do need to be able to go more than 300 miles on a charge. Now, let's talk about pricing of this new Model S.
Can we not? Can we not? I don't want to.
Because I need a raise, and I'm my own boss. So
Yeah, I know.
the new Model S starts at $79,990. That's for the long range dual motor version that gets you 412 miles. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's still pretty pricey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
it's very pricey.
Or you can spend $119,000, just a little bit more, for one of the new, more powerful plaid versions that only goes 390 miles, which isn't too bad, and that gets you that 0 to 60 in sub 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Or I got one more option for you, Michael.
There's more.
The Plaid Plus, which gets you that 520. You just got to shell out 139 grand. That's it, man.
Oh. Well, there you go. I just need to stretch it out a little bit. I mean, I don't need one of my legs. I could probably sell this in the black market or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it drives itself. I could just chop off one of my legs. And
with that steering wheel, you could probably, I don't know. Well, you probably need both your hands with that steering wheel.
Maybe, yeah. Or I can just, Jesus, that's expensive.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
But they do command that premium, though. I mean, they are the EV company to beat. So I guess
they are, but which I didn't really have a slide put together, but we'll see, because GM made the commitment of 25 new EV cars coming out by 2025 or something like that. It's relatively soon. We'll have to talk about that in the next episode, because we love talking about EV, but GM just made a huge commitment to EV going forward. So that'll be interesting how it plays out in the rest of the market.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Because I imagine it to be a little bit more reachable for most people.
And
right?
I was talking to someone about this. The more companies that commit to EV, I mean, that's what we need going forward. If EV is going to be the future and gas engines are going to be the past, you need companies to commit, like GM, to make that commitment to go EV moving forward. So. Yeah, it's only going to drive the price down too, right? Because when you're making everything in bulk, it's going to drive the price down, and it's going to, spring competition.
Competition drives the price down. So that's a good thing for everyone, for us, for us little people. So
let's move on, because that was just a portion of last week. Then there was this. Oh wait, no, sorry, this is the wrong picture. Wrong picture. Here we go.
There you go.
This A1, the Sony A1, which is basically, well, not basically, it is the flagship of Sony mirrorless cameras. It is the latest and greatest, and they basically threw the kitchen sink at this camera. It is their response to Canon's R5. What do you think of this as a Sony shooter, Michael? I am not a Sony shooter, so I am really curious on your thoughts about the Sony A1.
Yeah, I don't really keep up with other companies. I mean, like other camera companies, I guess. So I'm not really so familiar with the Canon lineup. However, when I saw this, I'm like, this is insane. Like, I can barely max out my A7 III, right? Like, it's like this camera can do just about everything. And I looked at the specs on this one, 8K at 30 frames per second. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy.
With no overheating.
And how many?
With no
overheating. No, what do you call it? Like no blackout in the screen when you're shooting
stills
with a fast shutter speeds. That's just super helpful for sports photographers, wildlife photographers. Like in that split second when you hit the shutter and the screen goes black, you tend to miss a couple of things. It's crazy. So this is just really impressive. Everything about it I love. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, Jared. Like they threw everything at it. I'm like, this is the one camera to get. However, the price though,
we're going to talk about that. So it's 50 megapixels, which is great, okay. Which also means it's not going to be great in low light though. It's not going to be comparable to the new Sony A7S III, which is only 12 megapixels, which is going to be way better in low light. So this, like I said, this is their answer to the R5. It has great video specs, 8K, 420, I think 10-bit still, 422 in 4K at 120 frames per second. So great slow motion in 4K. But that 50 megapixels is definitely going to be intriguing to a lot of photographers, especially that it can shoot 30 frames per second when you're shooting still. So the R5 can shoot 350 JPEGs or 108 RAW files in a single burst. The Sony A1 can shoot 400 JPEGs or 218 RAW files in one sequence. That's crazy. That's a lot of photos.
That is insane. It's like I'm blinking in slow motion at that point.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
759 autofocus points. So 93% of the sensor. That's
I saw the demo with the cyclist coming around the corner. Like the moment the cyclist hits the corner, it appears on screen, the camera was on the face. Like it was tracking the face right away. And I'm like, what the heck? That's really impressive. It's really impressive. Yeah, that's definitely the camera to buy.
Who's this camera made for, Michael? Okay. As a Sony shooter, who is this camera made for? Because it has 8K, at 30 frames a second, 4K, 120. But then it also has a 50 megapixel sensor that shoots 30 frames a second. So when camera companies release cameras like this, I'm confused. Who is this camera for? Because do you need all that? Does one single person need everything they threw into this camera? I don't know.
Absolutely not. No, I don't think so. That's why I got confused too, because it's like, just judging from the specs alone, I thought it was impressive. So I'm like, oh, this is definitely for wildlife photographers or maybe professional sports photographers. However, the 8K kind of threw me off. I'm like, okay, who is this for? A videographer? Is this for, what's it for? So that kind of threw me off. But, I still think it's geared towards those old school professional photographers that are just like, they just want more performance from their, just shooting photos in general. I think that's why you get the higher megapixel and just like the awesome face tracking and the zero blackout screens, or I forgot what it's called, but I think that's for them.
Yeah,
that's my guess.
So I think you're doing those people a disservice when you throw the kitchen sink at it, right? Because then you're making such an expensive camera that if it's a photography first camera, these guys don't need 8K, right? They don't.
No, they don't. Yeah.
So you're just making it more expensive for the people that actually could benefit from the 50 megapixel sensor and 30 frames per second. It's just, I'm confused.
You think it's for filmmakers?
But I don't think it's for filmmakers either, right? Because it's a 50 megapixel sensor. A filmmaker would prefer a 12 because you can get way better low light. So I don't know. I'm confused.
Maybe it's just a big measuring stick for them. You know what I mean?
I think it is. It's like, here's what we can do. Yeah. We can do 8K with no overheating.
Yeah. Gosh. We'll see. But our menu system still sucks.
Yeah.
So there's that.
So you're talking about the price point. What's the price point?
Ooh. Can we not talk about this again, Jared? Why do we always have to talk about pricing? Because this is really depressing.
I need a raise. $6,500, right?
Oh, just like the cost of one of my arms. Yeah.
You can buy a Canon R5 and an R6. It's two better than one. It's two. I think I'd rather an R5 and an R6 for the same price as one Sony A1. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I can fill an entire room with GoPros and get every single angle. It's ridiculous. It's that convinces me that this camera has to be marketed to a very specific person with very specific work, type of work. Because at 6,500.
So I mean, it also could be from a marketing standpoint a very smart move, because you're pushing more people to the A7S III. So by doing this, you put this A7S III in this middle ground where I think people will trade up and then they'll trade down, and so you might be boosting your sales of your A7S III. So
that actually is really smart, because it's almost like, how when you want to sell something to someone, but first you put something against it that's super expensive, so that by the time you present yours, it's like you see how much more value you get from this one. That actually is a smart idea. So
it's a basic pricing tier, right? You have something that's like the works, the ultra expensive, Then you have something that has a lot of features and isn't too expensive, and then you have that middle ground where it's, ooh, this is better, and it's not that much more, and it's a lot less than that most expensive one. So so the A7S3 is looking pretty good.
That's
it's looking pretty good.
We're on to you, Sony.
Yeah,
better be careful. We're on to you.
I wonder what camera they're going to release next week.
Oh, I know, right?
Why can't they be a little bit more like Apple and just kind of release a bunch of stuff at once and this trickle effect?
So that we all just panic once and that's it, right? Just panic once, not every week. Like now I'm exhausted.
All right, guys. So now if you're new to the channel, at the end of every episode, we have my tech fail of the week. And my tech fail of the week has to do, again, with the Sony A1. They gave us everything. Literally everything. But the one thing we all want this day and age is that the flippy screen. The
actual flipping screen, yeah.
Yeah, not an actual flipping screen. Jeez.
Yeah.
You gave the kitchen sink, and you just gave us the flip screen in the A7S3, but you don't put it in your flagship?
I know. We're like, oh, finally, Sony has caught up. They're doing the whole flip screen, just like, they're kind of 5 years late. But yeah, you're right. It's like they threw the kitchen sink minus the faucet. It's like, you can have this except for this one. So yeah, that's a bummer. I mean,
it's like, really?
We could argue that it could be because it is for a specific person that probably doesn't need a flip out screen or whatever. But come on,
but Jared, you just gave it everything. You just gave it everything.
Exactly. Jared said, you gave us everything except for that one. But again, Jared, maybe that's why next week they'll be like, by the way, we got something new.
Yeah.
An A1 2. No, that doesn't make sense. An A1
I know, right? What's the next iteration going to be? Welcome the A1 2.
Like, what? Sony, you're confusing us even more than your menu system. So,
well, maybe they'll go back to this and see how A1 names their other sauces. This is the A1 I can get behind. Tried and true. Tried and true.
Very valid fail of the week, Jared. I really like that one. That's awesome.
This has been your weekly Tech Talk, guys. It's been great chatting with you, Michael. If you guys have any ideas you want us to talk about, make sure you drop it down in the comments. And if you like two random guys talking about tech that have zero qualifications, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. We appreciate it.
We do a really good job with regurgitating information from the internet. I think.
Very, very good job. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week. See you, Michael.
Laters. Bye, Jared.